ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us offer our salutations. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of infinite religious ideas, who came to integrate all the religions of the world. Let us pray to him to lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, from death to immortality. Today's topic, Sri Ramakrishna, the master of profound humility. Humility is a very important virtue which could be seen in great souls like Sri Ramakrishna, who had illumination. One can have the vision of the Divine Supreme if one is perfectly humble. Humility is regarded by the saints as the basis and guardian of all virtues. It is the mother of salvation and the foundation of sanctity. It is the key which opens all the treasures of God. One saint asserted that humility is the only virtue no devil can imitate. If pride made demons out of angels, there is no doubt that humility could make angels out of demons. What a fine, remarkable homage to the quality of humility. If we possessed every virtue but lacked humility, those virtues would be without root and would not last. One Christian saint asserts that the man is truly humble who converts humiliation into humility. It is a remarkable feature of humility. Once Sri Ramakrishna was being insulted by one of the priests, so much so that person even kicked him. But Sri Ramakrishna did not retaliate. He withstood all this insult. His mind was completely absorbed in Divine Mother. So that was not to be shaken by these incidents. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells in Kshetra Kshetrajna Yoga, Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam. In dealing with this verse, Lord Krishna says the first and foremost important quality to be attained by the devotee, by the one who seeks perfection in life, is this humility, amanitvam, absence of pride. Such a man has no wish to receive respect or honor. He is not hankering after them. If it comes, it's all right. If it does not come, it's equally all right. He doesn't run after them. A man of humility doesn't behave as superior to others. He doesn't entertain any such idea. Superiority complex engenders conceit and contaminates the mind. There are many people who have advanced to a great extent in spiritual practices, but they would not make any progress further because somehow the pride had entered into them. Finished. All the people are showing honor to him. His pride is puffed up. That is over. Probably he may have to take few more births to work out his perfection. So one has to be extremely careful about practicing this virtue. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a crow. The crow thinks itself to be wise and never falls into a snare. It flies off at the slightest approach of danger and steals food with greatest dexterity. But the poor creature cannot help eating filth. This is the result of being overwise like crows, or having the wisdom of a pettifogger. The humblest of the humble attains, therefore, the highest perfection. One need not have to practice any yogas, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, all big yogas may be very difficult for a very ordinary person. If it just practices humility, followed by sincerity, enough, God would be very near to him and he would show his grace. Regarding this virtue of humility, Sri Ramakrishna once told a story to a devotee. Once a person approached a Mahatma and with great show of humility requested that Mahatman, "Oh sir, I am a very low person. Please instruct me as to how to save myself." By trying to assert that he is a very low person, some subtle idea of pride was in the corner of his mind. The Mahatman, looking at him, could find out what exactly his inner mind was. So he said, "Well, you go now and bring me that which is meaner than yourself." The man went out and looked all around, but found nothing whatsoever meaner than himself. Finally, he saw his own waste matter discharged from his body, and he said to himself, well, here is something which is certainly worse than myself. Then he put forth his hands to carry it, to show that to Mahatman, when suddenly he heard a voice coming forth from that waste matter. It said, "Oh, don't touch me." That filth is addressing this man. Filth which came out of his own body. "Don't touch me, you are a sinner. I was a sweet and delicious cake, fit to be offered to the gods, and in appearance so pleasing to all. But by my misfortune, somehow I have been brought to your contact, and by your evil contact I have been reduced to such a detestable condition that people run away from me with faces turned, covering their noses with handkerchiefs. Once only did I come in contact with you, and this is the terrible reward for me. What deeper degradation may I not be thrown into if you touch me again? So don't touch me." The man was thus taught true humility, and he became very humble. As a result, he attained highest perfection in course of time. Sri Ramakrishna has said another interesting story about this quality of humility. You know, Narada Maharshi is very noted for his great devotion to the Lord. Always he would be singing songs about the glories of God, and he would be spreading the message of God everywhere. He could go to any worlds and spread this message of devotion. Even in such a person as Narada, there was some trace of conceit. You know, if there is any trace, God will not keep quiet. He will find out somehow that should be removed. The person should be completely purified. Even a minute black thing on a white cloth looks most prominently. So the Divine Lord wanted to set it right, wanted to remove this conceit from the mind of Narada. So one day he called him and said, "Look, there is a particular devotee in a particular village. You go to him, make friendship with him, live with him for some time, observe him, and then report what you have seen in him." Narada immediately obeyed. He went to the specific place, and he found that particular person was a farmer, an agriculturist. That man was getting up early morning every day. Whenever he would get up, the first thing he would do was to repeat once the divine name. That's all. Then he would go to the field and engage himself in digging the land, etc. After working hard for the whole day, he would come in the evening very late. Then after taking bath, etc., after taking supper, before going to take rest, again he would just sit for a moment and repeat the name of the Divine Lord. That's all. Then he would go to sleep. Narada observed every day this farmer is doing exactly like this. And he thought within himself, how can this rustic, ordinary farmer, an agriculturist, whole day working in the field, how can he be a lover of God to the extent of getting attention from the Divine Lord Himself? So, he couldn't understand the inner significance of this. So, what is there any special thing about him for which I was sent here by the Divine Lord? So, thinking this way, Narada came back to the Divine Lord and reported what all he had observed. Then the Lord said, well, now you take this cup of oil and go round this city and come back with it. Only you should be careful not to spill even a single drop of it. Then Narada Maharshi followed as per Lord's direction and returned. Of course, he was very attentive and not a single drop spilled out of the cup. Now the Lord asked him, well, how many times did you remember me in the course of your walk around this city? Then Narada replied immediately, O God, not even once. It was not at all possible for me to think even once your name, because I had to keep constant watch over this cup brimming with oil. Slightest deviation from this attention would be, I would be failing in keeping up the promise. Then the Lord said, see, this one cup of oil drew your full attention to such an extent that it was impossible for me to remember me at all. But look at that farmer, an ordinary agriculturist, who, though carrying the heavy burden of the family, with all encumbrances, thinking about his livelihood, thinking about the prospect of the crops in the field, with all this, yet he could remember me twice a day. As soon as he got up once and before he went to sleep. This remark opened the eyes of Narada, and the idea of superiority complex which was there in his mind was washed away. If we study Master's life, we find this remarkable quality of humility. Even by just seeing the photograph of Sri Ramakrishna, one could easily catch this virtue. His face is full of sattvic qualities and it is beaming with this virtue of humility. Once he went to the house of a very low-class person who would always engage in menial work. Sri Ramakrishna purposely went to his home. He wiped the places of dirt and filth with his hair. While engaged in such work, he appealed to Divine Mother, O Mother, make me the servant of even this ordinary low-class person. Make me feel that I am lower than even this low-caste man. Sri Ramakrishna, the master of highest realization, behaving as humbler than the humblest, has a great significance which inspired Swami Vivekananda to reinterpret Hinduism in terms of service. How this idea of service came to Vivekananda? It is by observing this remarkable quality of humility in Sri Ramakrishna. The Swami's most devout prayer was not for release from the trammels of birth and work, but was in this wise. To quote, "May I be born again and again and suffer thousands of miseries so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God I believe in, the sum total of all souls, and above all, my God the wicked, my God the miserable, my God the poor of all races, of all species, is a special object of my worship." Sri Ramakrishna was generous to excess in bestowing his bounty on all with the sole intention of making them partake of spiritual bliss to the highest degree possible. He would go to Calcutta frequently, volunteering himself to meet people and his disciples instead of requiring them to resort to him at his place. This is most remarkable humility of the Master. The erring he was eager to reclaim. The sinful he was gracious to forgive. The weak he was all about to strengthen. His powerful radiation of spirituality made every home he visited in Calcutta a paradise. Once they would come in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, that would purify them forever. And again they would love to come and meet and talk with Sri Ramakrishna. That was the beauty in Sri Ramakrishna, which was very prominent because of this very noble quality, humility. There is another great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Girish Chandra Ghosh, who was very sinful as he had committed himself. He was always looked down by his friends and people because of his bad character. But such a person as this Girish was overpowered by tremendous power of humility manifested to the maximum in Sri Ramakrishna. The humility in Sri Ramakrishna attracted Girish Chandra Ghosh to him very closely, and by coming in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, his whole personality was transformed. All the dirt and filth and the impurities were all completely washed away from the heart of Girish Chandra Ghosh. There is an instance how Girish Chandra Ghosh observed this humility in Sri Ramakrishna. Once Sri Ramakrishna came to his theatre. He came along with his devotees. Girish Chandra Ghosh was enacting Chaitanya Leela. Sri Ramakrishna wanted to see that drama. As soon as he came, the matter was reported to Girish Chandra Ghosh. Then Girish came to receive Sri Ramakrishna. So, he saluted him. But before Girish saluted Sri Ramakrishna himself offered his salutations to him. Then again Girish returned the salute. But again Sri Ramakrishna gave his salutations to Girish Chandra Ghosh. This went on for a long time, repeated salutations. Then Girish Chandra Ghosh had to stop short lest the salutations go on forever, because Sri Ramakrishna would never stop saluting. Once Girish Chandra Ghosh offering his salutations, again Sri Ramakrishna would offer salutations. So this remarkable humility of Sri Ramakrishna sowed seed of reverence and devotion in the heart of Girish Chandra Ghosh, which ultimately reclaimed him, who was sunk in depravity. One day, Sri Ramakrishna attended a religious festival on invitation from the person who was organizing that. Swami Brahmanandaji also accompanied Sri Ramakrishna. They went to the place. There were many visitors by that time already. The host saw Sri Ramakrishna and Brahmanandaji coming into their home, but he did not give any particular attention to Sri Ramakrishna, because his mind was engaged in receiving and honoring the people of importance in social life, like governors, ministers, and so forth. So he was busy talking with such influential people who came to attend this function. So, in a way, this host neglected or showed scant respect for Sri Ramakrishna. Brahmanandaji, who was accompanying Sri Ramakrishna, he became very angry. So, he began to react. Like a petulant boy, he asked Sri Ramakrishna to leave the place immediately. Why should they be there at all when this man is not showing any attention on them, not even courtesy look? Why should they not go away? But Sri Ramakrishna, now here comes the importance of humility. The very personification of humility, Sri Ramakrishna. He put up with any amount of indignity. He didn't react. He asked Brahmanandaji to keep quiet. This was not the time to react. Then, after some time, the dinner bell was given. All the people are occupying the places on the dining table. But nobody cared to lead Sri Ramakrishna to the dining hall. Again, this is adding insult to the injury. But Sri Ramakrishna, unruffled, went quietly. In the last, when all the people had gone into the dining hall, he was the last person to go inside, and he could not find any place for him to sit. Somehow he found a place in a dusty corner and sat there and finished his dinner and then returned to Dakshineshwar. This is a very remarkable incident. In Sri Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna exemplifies this quality. Manapamanayo stulyastulyor aripakshayoho. One who is same in honor as well as dishonor. He is least bothered about name, power, position, etc. So Sri Ramakrishna just practiced all these qualities in him. He was same whether receiving honor or dishonor. Afterwards, referring to this incident, Sri Ramakrishna told Brahmanandaji that if they had left the place in resentment, that would have caused harm to the host. So Sri Ramakrishna didn't want to do any harm to the person. Then Brahmanandaji saw the depth of meaning even behind the trifling acts of the master and learnt a great lesson in humility and self-effacement. Another feature of humility we find in Sri Ramakrishna was that he would not ignore anybody. Anybody could come to him and he would receive him with same love and affection as he would receive Swami Vivekananda and other direct disciples. All were same to him. His love extended in full measure. Not half and half, not 24, not 25%, 10%, 5%. No percentage business. Full. Whenever anybody would come to Sri Ramakrishna, full attention, full love, full affection would be given to that person. That is the beauty. He came to show to the people what exactly God means. We are so much debating about God. So much. It is very simple. God is nothing but beautiful, full of love and affection. If a man is wonderfully loving everyone, he is nothing but God himself. So he came to show to the people these finer ideas in life. His realization of seeing God in everything metamorphosed his ego into perfect humility. That is why we find that Holy Mother, Sri Sharda Devi, his own consort, after stroking Master's feet, would receive salutations afterwards. Sri Ramakrishna saw trees, plants, men, animals, grass, and all the things as different coverings. They are all different coverings, like a pillowcase. Some round in shape, some square, some made of fine cotton and others of coarser stuff. But within all these pillowcases there is one and the same substance, that is cotton. In the same way, all the things of the world are stuffed with the unconditioned Satchidananda Brahma. Sri Ramakrishna could not brush aside even a wicked man. His view was that tulasi leaf, however dry or small, it can be offered to the Divine Lord. This was the acid test of Master's profound humility. Because of his utter humility, Sri Ramakrishna would not relish three words which ordinarily lodge man in vanity and pride. What are those three words? The first word was Guru. He did not want to be called as a Guru. The second, Karta, that is the doership. I am the doer. He didn't want to entertain that idea. I am not the doer. The doer is the Lord himself. I am only his servant. That was his attitude. And the third was Father. He never liked these words to be used against him. He wanted to remain humble to the utmost extent possible. He exhorted, the Divine Lord is the only Guru. My Divine Mother is the sole doer of actions. I am only an instrument in her hands. I feel always to be her child. I am always her child. The Divine Mother is always my Divine Mother. So that fine attitude nicely shaped Sri Ramakrishna in this wonderful quality of humility. Sri Ramakrishna himself gives an example. The tree laden with fruits always bends low. If one should be great, he should be lowly and meek. He would say, in a balance, the scale that is heavy goes down, but the lighter one rises up. So the man of merit and ability is always humble and meek, while the fool is puffed up with vain conceit. Sri Ramakrishna warned about spiritual pride. All these things show us how it is very important to practice humility. At least if we know that there is such a quality as this, it would make the way clearer to us. Once a yogi performed tapas in the forest and got some powers on account of his practices. Whatever he said to anyone would come to pass immediately. One day, a holy man came to him. That holy man was always repeating the name of God, and he was meditating on him. So this particular yogi, he came to know that this holy man was repeating the divine name for many years and doing meditation. So he asked that holy man, well, I understand you have been repeating this divine name for a pretty long time. Tell me if you have gained anything. Because he was proud that because he had some powers, so he wanted to show that what this poor holy man has acquired by his just repetition of the Lord's name. But the holy man was a man of perfect humility. He was always peaceful and happy. Inside was completely pure. So he replied in a very simple way. So he told the yogi, well, what do I expect to get? I have no desire of getting anything except having the vision of God. And I am sure one cannot get anything without His grace. So I have been lying here and calling on God that someday He may have compassion on me and I may be obliged by His vision. The yogi then retorted very boastfully, well, if you have not gained anything, then what is the utility of this useless effort? So many years you have just wasted. Try so as to get something. You must achieve something. After some time, the holy man asked the yogi, well, sir, may I know what you yourself have got? Now the chance came to him to show what he had. He replied, see, I have got this power which I could get by my yogic practices. There was an elephant tied under a tree very close by. The yogi, seeing that elephant, said, he said to that elephant, you die right now. Immediately the elephant dropped down dead at once. It was writhing in pain because the life has to go out, Forcefully it has to go out because this yogi has said. Then the yogi said arrogantly to the dead elephant, "Oh elephant, get your life back." And the elephant which was dead, it came back at once to life. shook the dust of his body off, and stood there as before. The yogi then said triumphantly to the holy devotee, "Well, do you know? Have you seen how I have shown you the power? This is what I have got by my yogic practices." Then this holy man said to him, "Well, what more have I observed than to see the elephant die once and come to life again? But will you please tell me what you have gained thereby? Have you become free from repeated births and deaths? Have you conquered death? Have you attained immortality? Have you had the vision of God? Have you attained peacefulness? Have you got deliverance from old age and disease? Have you realized the indivisible Satchidananda?" All these questions could not be answered. Not a single question could be answered by this yogi. And this holy man was none other than the Divine Lord Himself, who came in that guise to open his eyes, to correct him, to remove the vanity from his heart. There is another instance. Once Sri Ramakrishna came to see one famous holy man at that time by name Bhagavan Das, a very well-known Vaishnava sadhu, very highly respected among the community. A particular man in that community had committed some mistake. This Bhagavan Das became very angry and remarked that he would expel him, he would excommunicate him. So when he talked that way, he was puffed up with inflamed pride. He thought he was a very high person of high spiritual quality. So he talked that way. Sri Ramakrishna then said to the sadhu, "Why are you so egoistic even now? Will you teach people? Will you expel him? Will you accept or reject things? Who are you to teach people? Will you teach them if he to whom the world belongs doesn't do that?" As the master was telling this way, Sri Ramakrishna was just getting into ecstatic state. His face was illumined with an extraordinary divine effulgence. He became still and speechless. This Bhagavan Das saw that and he was amazed at this ecstatic state of Sri Ramakrishna. These words of the Master awakened this Vaishnava sadhu to the reality. The sadhu felt that there was no other doer in the world than God Himself. That however much a man might think in his egotism that he was doing everything, he was actually a slave of circumstances and could do only as much as he had been given to do and understand. And that although ordinary people might do whatever they liked, a devotee should not forget this truth even for a moment, lest he should go astray. The powerful words of the Master influenced this sadhu very much, and then he showed great respect to Sri Ramakrishna and he became very modest. The extraordinary manifestation of spiritual mood in Sri Ramakrishna, the personification of perfect humility, immensely helped the sadhakas to achieve perfection in spirituality. They would all be inspired. So that inspiration could come because Sri Ramakrishna was very humble. He was easily approachable. Anybody can go and meet him. Easily approachable. A proud man cannot be approached at all. That's the difference. On another occasion, Sri Ramakrishna had gone to a function, a conference of... There was a special seat called as Seat of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was decorated with garlands of flowers, etc. The Vaishnavas who had assembled there, they were all rejoicing as if they were sitting in the divine presence of Sri Ramakrishna, because Sri Ramakrishna graced that conference. This special seat, it was not supposed to be occupied by anybody. But the Bhagavata reading created such devotional mood in Sri Ramakrishna. He went into ecstasy. He suddenly went and occupied that special seat where nobody was supposed to sit. All were charmed to see the Master in that ecstatic posture. So they all were inspired to repeat the Lord's name for a long time. So, how Sri Ramakrishna manifested this humility in his life, we have seen all along. We have seen in the Master's life that he would go voluntarily many times to meet people of worth and quality. He would never think at any time, as I am so great a man, I shall lower myself in the estimation of others if I thus go to any and everybody. I will lose respect. This kind of idea does not enter into his mind. The Master, Sri Ramakrishna, had altogether burnt up pride and egoism to ashes forever. There was not a trace of such things in him. He carried on his head the leaf plates left over by the poor people after taking their food. And Sri Ramakrishna himself would take those leaves and throw outside the temple. And he would wash the place himself where all the people took the food. He even partook the leavings of those people, regarding them as the veritable manifestations of the divine. He would pray earnestly to the Divine Mother, "O Mother, please see that I may never entertain the idea that I am superior to them. I should never get that idea into my mind." These are the marks of Master's great humility. Once, Sri Ramakrishna, holding one end of his wearing cloth, was walking along in the garden of the Kali temple. One gentleman who had come into the garden, he thought, seeing Sri Ramakrishna as a very ordinary person. He did not know that Sri Ramakrishna was the man of realization who had the vision of Mother Kali. He didn't know all those things. He just thought he might be ordinary persons like anybody. So seeing him, he just said, "Will you please pluck those flowers for me?" Sri Ramakrishna was very humble, did not say anything to that man, but simply plucked the flowers and gave them to the gentleman. Then the Master went away. There is another remarkable incident which again shows this quality of humility in Sri Ramakrishna. Trailokya Babu, the son of Mathuranath, Once he became annoyed with Hriday, the nephew of Master. He became annoyed with Hriday, but what he did was, this Trailokya Babu, he ordered the Master to leave the temple. In the fit of temper, he even said that the Master need not stay at the temple any longer. So, he wanted to get rid of both Hriday and Sri Ramakrishna. As soon as he heard this, Sri Ramakrishna, putting a towel on his shoulder, smilingly, is just walking outside, going out up to the gate, just to get out of the temple premises. Immediately, Trailokya Babu came to his senses. What a grave mistake he had committed. So he ran to the Master and implored him to return. He said, "O Master, I did not mean that you should leave. I wanted Hriday to go away. But anyway, I have done a great mistake. Please forgive me. Please come back." The Master, again smiling, came back as if nothing had happened. That is remarkable quality of humility. On another occasion, the Master said, "Did these people care for devotion and such other things? These people, many times, they even do not know how to salute with their heads bent." Sri Ramakrishna said, "I went on saluting the people with my head bent, and then they gradually learnt how to bow down their heads in salutation." Actually, many people got training with Sri Ramakrishna, how to offer salutations. One day, the Master went to Keshav's house, who was the leader of the Brahma Samaj, a very reputed man of that age, of that period. He was sitting on the chair. The Master, as soon as he came, he saluted him with his head bent. Keshav responded by just nodding his head. That's all. At the time of leaving the place, the Master saluted him with his head completely touching the ground. At that time, Keshav Chandra Sen folded his hands and once touched his head with them. The more the visits increased, the more Keshav Chandra Sen listened to talks, and the more the Master saluted him with his head bent, the more did Keshav began to bow down his head in salutation. Thus, Sri Ramakrishna would give training meticulously in all these aspects so that they can practice all these virtues in their life. Unless we develop our character, how can we expect spiritual unfoldment? It is not done by magic. It is to be cultivated, practiced. In the evening of his life, Sri Ramakrishna was afflicted with a terrible malady in the throat. He could not swallow any solid food. He smilingly suffered the excruciating pain of the crucifixion for a long 1 year for the sake of the devotees who did not like to leave orphaned. Sri Ramakrishna on his part wanted to give the people, wanted to lead them in this righteous path. Spirituality could be practiced by anyone. He wanted to show the way. He was full of love and affection for the people. The cries of human suffering reverberated in his soft heart. He longed to alleviate all the misery of all, paying no heed to his own agony. Whenever he used to talk to the people, he would forget about the cancer in the throat. He would talk hours together, as if he was not suffering at all. Sometimes afterwards, when the doctor would come, he would be amazed seeing Sri Ramakrishna talking continuously for hours and talking only about the divine ideas, nothing else. And the doctor would often tell him not to speak at all. His overflowing grace turned the wretchedness of condemned men into the blessedness of saved souls. The incarnation of love and humility that he was, he let love overflow in his every act, thought and feeling. He was an inexhaustible mine of Kripa, a healer working for the perfect cure of suffering humanity. Though he was majestic, mighty and mysterious, the luster of profusely shed love shone through the splendor of his majesty. The huge measure of his might displayed the gentleness of his providence, and in the deep mystery of his nature lay the assurance of safety of his messiahhood. So soft, he was so close, so elusive, yet so very easily got at. He was and is a savior and redeemer par excellence. So if we study life of Sri Ramakrishna and mark these special features, that would benefit us greatly, and we would become real devotees. A real devotee should not hate anyone, should not go on picking out faults at others. Why should we waste time like that way? Every moment is precious. Why not we use it for our spiritual unfoldment? So Sri Ramakrishna is the example before us. Whoever comes to him certainly receives his grace without any doubts. So may we able to practice humility, may we able to follow his teachings to the best of our capacity. Thank you all. The benediction: may our learned mothers inspire us with their righteous deeds. May the learned people of noble thoughts guide us. May the omnipresent Om bring us peace and healthy life. May this air be peaceful. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all. Now this English translation is done from the Sanskrit verse which I am reciting now. This is from Rig Veda. Shanno aditir bhavato vratebish shanno bhavantu marutas svarkaha shanno vishnusamupushano astu shanno bhavitram samvastu vayuhu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.